I think there's a myth and a stereotype out there about what a gentleman or a traditional man is. And we see this stereotype reinforced with fictional characters like James Bond, Tommy Shelby, and also this 1950s archetype of classical masculinity. Now, I reference these characters a lot. I use the term classical masculinity, and I use them often as positive examples. However, sometimes I worry that I'm perpetuating a myth or an idea about what a man is that's not entirely healthy for everybody. And as somebody who makes this kind of content and who potentially influences others, I felt a pressure to live up to this idea of what a traditional man is. And it's not necessarily true, it's not necessarily healthy for everybody. And on your journey to become a better man, you might find it necessary to break out of these stereotypes. I'm going to talk more about stereotypes and carving your own identity later in this video. But first, I want to acknowledge 5 myths about what a man is, especially this traditional, classically masculine archetype that we all appreciate. The first myth is that if you want to be a gentleman, you must drink alcohol. For a long time, having a drink and masculinity have gone hand in hand. Nothing says a man's man like a glass of bourbon or whiskey. It's hard to imagine James Bond without his signature martini. But it is by no means a requirement to drink if you want to be a gentleman. As a gentleman, you need to take a sober analysis of whether or not alcohol is a positive in your life. Does the social life that comes with drinking or the flavor of your favorite drink outweigh the costs to your health or potentially your decision making? The truth is, I can't answer that question for you. It all depends on how much you drink and how you react to it. Personally, it's taken me many years to realize that I do not like the effects of heavy drinking. I don't like who I become when I drink a lot, and overall, it's actually a net negative in my life. And even though I've made videos about cocktails, I've even drunk alcohol in many of my videos, I recently came to the conclusion that I'm actually better off without it. And in order to become the man I want to be, alcohol is just an unnecessary obstacle and distraction. And if you feel a social pressure to drink, remember it's more gentlemanly and more attractive to have the confidence to make your own decisions. I'm noticing that my generation is increasingly turning its back on booze. Gen Z drinks 20% less than millennials. And if you are interested in a more sober lifestyle, check out the video I made about the 5 best non-alcoholic drinks for gentlemen. Because I believe even if you decide not to drink alcohol, there's no reason for you to miss out on the social benefits that come with drinking. You should still go to the bar with your friends, still enjoy the same social life. However, you will find that you make better choices and you hang around with better people when you are sober. The resurgence of cigar smoking on social media might lead an impressionable young man to believe that smoking a cigar is a necessary part of being a man. Whether it's the Tate brothers, Joe Rogan, or a more classic role model like Clint Eastwood, for a long time smoking a cigar has been associated with masculinity. And while my generation has long decided that smoking cigarettes is bad and even taboo, cigar smoking seems to have escaped that taboo, and I see that the health risks are actually being ignored. As with alcohol, I'm not here to tell you what to do. You have to make your own decisions. But don't think that cigar smoking is in any way related to masculinity. It's not a symbol of masculinity, and it's by no means a requirement. If you enjoy it in a non-addictive way, then good for you. I'm honestly happy for you. But I do worry when I see influencers like Andrew Tate using the cigar almost as a symbol of success and masculinity, that a young guy who's looking to become a better person will see that and think that's what he needs to do. And of course, you could say the same about characters like Don Draper, Sean Connery, Cary Grant. I use clips of these guys smoking cigarettes all the time. That's just what people did back then. But these days, I don't think too many young men are being inspired to pick up a packet of Marlboros from watching an old movie. To me, masculinity is about inner strength. It's a quiet confidence. So when I see men bragging about how much money they've made, all the women they've slept with, all their exotic cars, to me, I just see insecurity. And one of the myths that I hate the most is the idea that being boastful, arrogant, or show-offish has anything to do with being a man. In fact, I think it's quite the opposite. The harder somebody tries to convince you what a man they are, what a great person they are, the more I see it as a sign of weakness. Because if you're actually so great, if you're actually such a man, why are you expending so much energy to convince others of that? Surely you would just be satisfied knowing that and having that inner confidence inside. It's also very unmasculine to belittle others, to mock others, to put other people down, just because they've accomplished less in the material world than you. A truly masculine man builds others up. He leads by positive example. He's encouraging. So if you are a successful person, remember to stay humble, and remember that it's much more of a masculine trait to lend a hand to those on their way up, rather than kick them back down the ladder. To this day, there are many men who believe that a man should never show his emotions, or that anger is the only acceptable emotion to show. But think about all of the great works that men have done throughout history as a result of emotion. Incredible works of literature, music, art, sculpture. Even a business or a political cause can be born out of a great intensity of emotion. Some men are naturally more in tune with their creative and their artistic side, and I'm one of them. But I feel like with today's narrow role models, narrow definition of masculinity, they might feel like their emotions don't have a productive, healthy outlet. It might make them feel like there is no merit to their emotional side, that it must just be suppressed. But actually, emotions can be an incredible source of fuel and can lead to incredibly productive and good acts. In my opinion, the difference between being masculine and not is not the emotion you feel, but rather how you handle it. Even if you feel something that would be typically described as very negative, such as sorrow, grief, even self-loathing, do you channel that into something productive, or do you allow it to consume you? And are you able to express emotion? Are you able to articulate how you feel, or do you put up walls? Yes, there is the time for boundaries and stoicism, but I do believe that a man needs to have the communication skills to express how he truly feels when the time is right. So far, I've spoken mostly about vices associated with masculinity and negative character traits such as arrogance or hiding your emotions. But here's a trait that could be seen as very positive, yet it's not a requirement to be a gentleman. I'm talking about religion or being a man of faith. Much of my audience is religious, typically Christian, and I see comments all the time saying that you can only be a gentleman if you're a man of God and if you follow the teachings of Christ. In my opinion, a man of any religion or belief system can be a gentleman. And typically, many of the values that we associate with being a gentleman are embodied by all types of mainstream faiths. Most religions share many common values that we can all agree can help somebody be a better person. But a man who practices no faith can also have these values and this morality. In fact, I argue it would be ungentlemanly to judge somebody because they are not the same religion as you or because they have no religion. A gentleman is defined by the way he lives his life, the way he treats himself and others. It's not defined by the religion he associates with himself, where he goes on a Sunday, or the holy book that he reads. So I encourage you to keep an open mind. Whether you follow a particular faith or if you're an atheist, there are typically things you can learn from people of all walks of life. As you can tell, my interpretation of the word gentleman is a broad church. What I think is most important for us is to choose a lifestyle that we really want and to express ourselves in the way that's most authentic to us. There is no value in being a cliche. In fact, the more individual you are, the more valuable you are. When you conform to a stereotype, when you're predictable, you're just like everybody else. But your unique set of preferences, your contradictions even, these are what make you uniquely special and valuable to other people. Because your unique set of attributes is what you have to offer to the world that nobody else could give. Now, in today's world, if you identify as a gentleman, you care about how you dress, you're chivalrous, you believe in good manners and etiquette, you might feel like somewhat of an outsider. And that's why I decided to create 2 online communities so people like you can meet like-minded men. Right now, I have over 16,000 men in my free community, They're making connections, they're sharing outfits, helping each other with dilemmas, and making new friends. But if you're looking for a more exclusive network, then the Gentleman's Lounge might be right for you. This is where I invest a lot of my personal time interacting and building connections with the members. There's also a weekly video call with me, and I filmed exclusive video content for this community only. Yes, there is a small monthly fee, but you can also try it out for free using a 7-day free trial. You will find the links to both of these communities down in the description, and whichever one you choose, I look forward to greeting you in the community very soon.